Hello everyone, my name is Manuela Gonzalez and I talk on this project about what is fashion as a second skin or what is called as well interactive fashion. In order for me to talk about techno fashion, I wanted to first explain to you a bit about why I chose to speak about techno fashion. The truth is that I was born with lazy eye, which means that without my contact lenses I can do basically nothing. And when I was a little girl, I remember wearing my contact lenses, and every time that I forgot to wear it, or when I woke up, or when I went to the doctors, they used to tell me, "Where are your eyes?" if I didn't have my contact lenses on. And the truth is that contact lenses are basically my eyes. And when I started studying fashion in Madrid, I just came up with one designer, which is called Yingao. I will talk more about her later, and she kind of inspired me to think about fashion as a second skin, but not just something to express ourselves, but as an actual functional second skin. So for this project, I will talk about techno fashion and wearable technology and its differences. How did this new style of fashion start, and what is the function of techno fashion? I will just mention three of the functions, which are expanding the senses, speculative design, and a functional skin. In order for us to understand what are the differences between techno-fashion and wearable technology, we need to give a definition first. So for the techno-fashion, I use a definition from Bradley Quinn that says that it is the new wave of intelligent clothing that fuses fashion with communication technology, electronic textiles, and sophisticated design innovations that express new ideas about appearance, construction, and wearability. This means that for something to be considered techno-fashion, it has to meet one of the following criteria. It has to either fuse fashion with communication technology, use electronic textiles, or express new ideas about appearance, construction, and wearability through the use of technology. But what is actually the difference between techno-fashion and wearable technology? To understand these differences, I will explain a bit about the history of wearable technology, and I will use the history of the smartwatch. It all started in 1927, where the first GPS watch was released. You needed to have different rolls with different directions. It was from London, as you can see. And then Hamilton Company released later on, 1972, the first watch with LEDs on it. Then Seiko Company from 1982 started releasing watches that had accessories on them, like the grayscale TV, a keyboard to store two memos, or a watch where you could see the colors IDs, sport scores, stock prices, and weather forecast. Then Linux released in 1998 the first watch that could have wireless connections with other devices, and it was improved by Fossil because, as you can see, the design is easier to use or to see. And then Garmin Forerunner released the very first watch that could measure speed, distance, pace, and calorie. And Nike released in 2012 the same thing, but adding the measurement of the heart rate. And all of that was released in just one watch, that is the smartwatch we know nowadays, Apple Watch, Samsung Watch, or whatever name you can tell. So as we can see, one of the main differences between wearable technology and techno fashion is that the way it was created is different. Wearable technology means a technology that has been adapted to the human body, while techno fashion is any garment that has technology on them. So this is a small difference, but it changes the way it's commercialized and the way we see it nowadays. With these differences being said, I will talk about the very first designer that is considered a techno fashion designer, which is Massimo Osti. He is the founder of the brands Stone Island and CP Company. He was actually an Italian graphic designer, but he started developing his own t-shirt company, and he just liked to experiment with materials to innovate, and he created printing techniques like the steel screen and the four color process that are still widely used nowadays. And after that, he just started experimenting every time more and more, creating things like rubber flex or rubber wool. The ice jacket was a chimera between regular fashion and techno fashion because it had technology on it, but it isn't quite considered techno fashion. It could change color depending on the temperature, and Osti was able to do this by using liquid crystals that could change its colors. Later on, Osti did a collaboration project with Philips and Levis, and they ended up releasing the ICD Plus collection, which was a high-performance technical all-wear collection. And it included wires to connect the cell phone, MP3 player, and headphones and microphones to the hat jacket itself, and all of them were wired together to a central panel that where the user could control all of them individually or together. It was completely safe to use because all the wires could be removed, and which made it easier as well to wash the garment or to store the garment. And the garment actually had a pocket on the back where you could just store everything, and even the garment itself could be stored, and it will become a shoulder bag. This garment was quite important because it is the first commercial offering where the garment was purposely designed to house and fully integrate a variety of consumer electronics, which means officially this is the very first techno fashion garment. This idea of integrating electronics to our garments has been used later on during all these years, and the most popular one is Google Jacket, which is a collaboration between Google and Levi's, and it is basically the same concept, but all the wires can be reduced to what we see on the left, so it's just a chip and a touch sensitive fabric that are connected with conductive yarn. We may think right now that the function of techno fashion is just to add electronic devices to a garment, but the truth is that it can be just adding lights to a dress or to a traditional garment to make it stand out. It can be used to create a wow effect in a catwalk show, or it can be just making a normal or a beautiful nightgown into your great entrance. One of the companies that has Techno Fashion as their main product is CuteCircuit. It is an Italian company founded by Francesco Rosella and Ryan Gens. And they created this company with the idea of using fashion as a way to expand the senses. For this reason, the very first project they created was the hug shirt. It is a shirt that can record pressure, warmth, heartbeat, and the duration of a hug. So it is wireless connected to your phone, so you can receive a hug from everywhere you are and every time you want it. After that product, they released the Galaxy dress, which is a dress made for the exhibition Inventing the Future in Chicago and has 24,000 LEDs embedded in the garment, making it the largest display of LEDs in one garment. After this dress, they became quite popular with celebrities, so they started working with people like Laura Pausini or Katy Perry. And they even released an EasyJet uniform. And their latest invention is the T-Shirtos, which is a shirt that has a LED panel in the front, and you can change it and put anything that you want with your phone. The next designer I want to talk about is Jing Gao. She's a Montreal-based fashion designer, and she's a professor at University of Quebec. For her, the purpose of fashion is to create questions in people's minds. For this reason, she calls her own work speculative design. One of the first projects that she made is called Living Pot. It is composed by twin pieces, and both of them have light sensors that can react to any source of light. She explores the concepts of confrontation and imitation. Confrontation because when someone points out a fact, the other has to react. It means when someone points a light to the garment, it reacts, as we can see on this video. And imitation because even if the codes or the other piece seems to be the same, both of them have the same function, which is reacting to the light, we will see that the way they react to the light is different, which ends up unveiling the situation that they are actually imitations. For this project called Flowing Water Standing Time, we can see how the garments move and react. and they are reacting to the different colors in their surroundings, not only the people in their surroundings for this time. And Jingao based this project on the novel of the neurologist Oliver Sacks, where she speaks about one of his patients called Jimmy G, where he's a middle-aged ex-Navy sailor, but he reverts to his 19-year-old self. And he explains how every time that he sees the sea or he sees his reflection on the sea, he goes back to his actual self, which is being an ex-Navy middle-aged man. The last designer I will talk about is Varahi. She was born in Iran and she was trained as an architect, and she started exploring the different ways in which people react to their environment and the environment reacts back to them. And she became interested in this, and she just started experimenting more and more until she started realizing that she wanted to explore how garments react with different people. So for her, the idea of techno fashion is actually using fashion as a second skin or a functional second skin. Cards of the Gaze is the first project where she actually sees the different interactions between people and their garments. And she says, what if our clothing could behave as an artificial skin, capable of changing its shape and operating as an interface with the world? We can see how the garment has a camera in it, and it can record or see where the other person is looking at the garment, and it will uncover or cover different areas of the bodies. This way she asks herself questions about intimacy, gender, and personal identities. For her latest project, Iridescence, she takes the hummingbird as an inspiration. The way the feathers of the hummingbirds changes its color or seem to change its color when the light gets reflected on them, it's what she tries to imitate with this color. And the color reacts to the different facial expressions and the way people are looking at the garment by itself, and it will create different patterns depending on the emotion it senses the other person has. One of the main questions that I wanted to answer with this project was, does techno fashion has a future? And I can say that we have seen the differences between wearable technology and techno fashion. We have seen the beginning of techno fashion, the definition of techno fashion, and we have seen all the designers that are experimenting and creating new things with it. So I can say that yes, techno fashion has a future because it is not just any temporary fashion. It has been developing over time. At the same time, technology has. Um, it is a new way of creating fashion through the use of technology. So it is new, and there is still a lot to explore and a lot to learn about it. But I am sure that the more technology advances, the more techno fashion will advance as well. Thank you so much for listening, and if you have any questions, just feel free to ask me.